All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and, frankly, most fun characters in all of Greek mythology, Hermes. You might know him as the messenger god, but oh, he is so much more than that. He's a guide, a dealmaker, a god of thieves, but really, at his core, he was the original trickster. And that brings us right to the heart of his story with this one single question. How on earth does a newborn baby, we're talking hours old, manage to pull off a major heist and completely outsmart one of the most powerful gods on Olympus? It sounds impossible, right? Well, let's get into it. You know, every great character has an origin story that defines them, and Hermes's is an absolute classic. He was literally born in the shadows, into a world he was clearly ready to shake up from his very first breath. To really get Hermes, you've got to look at his parents. On one hand, you have his dad, Zeus, the king of the gods, the most powerful being around. And on the other, his mother, Maia, a very shy nymph who wanted nothing to do with all the drama on Olympus. So of course they have this secret affair in a dark cave, kind of setting the perfect stage for a son who would spend his entire life crossing boundaries and moving between worlds. Just look at this timeline. This is his first day alive. He's born at dawn. By morning, he's bored. He slips out of his cradle, finds a tortoise, and casually invents the lyre. But that's not enough. By afternoon, he zips over to another region, steals 50 of his half-brother Apollo's prize cattle, then invents fire so he can have a little barbecue, and is back in his cradle looking all innocent by nightfall. That's a whole legendary career packed into just 24 hours. Incredible. So that whole cattle theft thing? It wasn't just a childish prank. Oh no. This was a masterclass in cunning and deception that would pretty much define who he was forever. It was all about cleverness, not just raw power. The ingenuity here is just stunning. Think about it. A newborn baby comes up with the idea to make the cows walk backward to hide their tracks, and then he makes giant sandals for himself to hide his own footprints. He even thinks ahead to bribe the only witness. And just to show you he meant business, when that shepherd later broke his promise, Hermes came back in disguise and turned the guy to stone. He was a master strategist from day one. Of course, you can't really hide from Apollo, the god of prophecy. He eventually tracks Hermes down, and he is furious. But instead of getting punished, Hermes starts negotiating. He pulls out that lyre he invented and plays this beautiful music that just mesmerizes his angry brother. Apollo was so in love with the sound that he basically traded everything for it. Forgiveness, the rest of the cattle, his own golden staff, and even some lessons in prophecy. And boom, just like that, Hermes talks his way out of huge trouble and into owning his most iconic symbol, the Caduceus. This whole stunt wasn't just impressive. It earned him a seat at the table with the 12 main Olympian gods. And he very quickly became their go-to guy for any job that needed speed, wit, or, a bit of rule bending. He was the indispensable fixer of Olympus. Now, to really get Hermes, you have to understand this term, liminal deity. It just means he existed on the boundaries, on the thresholds. He was the god of roads, of doorways, of merchants crossing borders, and even of that final transition from life to death. And this unique position meant he was the only Olympian who could travel freely between the world of the gods, our world, and even the underworld. And because he could go anywhere, he pretty much did a bit of everything. He was the god's messenger. He was the Psychopomp, the one who guides souls to the afterlife. He protected travelers and merchants, but he also protected the thieves who operated in the shadows. He was the god of public speaking, of athletes, of shepherds, you name it. The point is, he was everywhere. And to handle all these jobs, you need the right gear, right? It all starts with the famous winged sandals, the Talaria. These gave him that legendary, almost reality-bending speed to hop between worlds in a flash. Then you've got his hat, the Petasos. It's this wide-brimmed traveler's hat, often with wings, too. It was a clear symbol that he was the protector of anyone out on a long journey. And finally, the Caduceus. That's the staff he got from Apollo, the one with the 2 snakes wrapped around it. This became his ultimate symbol of authority. It showed he could negotiate peace, broker deals, and grant safe passage to anyone under his protection. So he's got his jobs, he's got his gear. What's next? Well, he becomes a key player in almost every major Greek myth you've ever heard of. He was basically Zeus's top field agent and a hero's absolute best friend. I mean, his resume is just astounding. He rescued one of Zeus's lovers by talking a 100-eyed giant to sleep and then slaying him. He loaned his own winged sandals to Perseus to go fight Medusa. He gave Odysseus a magic herb to protect him from the sorceress Circe. He even rescued Zeus himself when he was immobilized by the monster Typhoeus. Time and time again, when the odds looked impossible, Hermes was the one they called. And I think this quote from Homer just nails how the Greeks saw him. Unlike the other big, bearded, serious gods, Hermes was always shown as this young, athletic, approachable guy. He's the picture of energy and readiness, always looking like he's about to spring into action. So what's his lasting impact? Well, true to his nature, his legacy crossed the boundary from ancient religion right into the fabric of our modern world. His influence spread directly through his own family tree. He had a ton of kids, including the wild god Pan. But get this, he was also the grandfather of a guy named Autolycus, who was known as the Prince of Thieves. And Autolycus's grandson? None other than Odysseus, the great, cunning hero of the Odyssey. That trickster gene was passed right down. Seriously, his legacy is everywhere. The ancient Greeks honored him with festivals and placed protective statues of him at every crossroad. He was central to their myths and culture, even getting credit for inventing stuff like language and music. And today, his Roman name, Mercury, is the name of the fastest-moving planet in our solar system, and his winged image is used by countless brands to symbolize speed and communication. Which leaves us with one final thought. This master of commerce, of information, of trickery, the ultimate boundary crosser. If he were around today, what would he even be? A high-flying CEO? A genius diplomat? A gray hat hacker slipping through digital firewalls? Knowing Hermes, he'd probably be all three at once.